Now I know what you're probably thinking. Do we really need another video on the Ford Mustang? Yes, it's true, I did do the S550 in manual form when it first came out to New Zealand, and I've also done the supercharged Stage 3 Mustang with 670 horsepower. But this is a 2018 Mustang, and it's significantly different from those cars, particularly the original S550 V8, in a number of areas. For instance, compared to that original car, this thing's got more power, more pipes, more gears, more straight lines, and more LCD dashboard. We've still got a 5-litre V8 engine under the hood, bonnet, but it's changed from the original S550 versions. For a start, it's got direct and port injection. The other thing it's got is new cylinder linings, which have actually increased the bore of the cylinders. Cubic capacity of this engine is slightly over 5,000 cc's, whereas the earlier Coyote engine in the S550 was just under 5 litres. Redline is set at 7,400 RPM, which is another 400 RPM over and above what the previous engine was allowed to go to. And it delivers significantly more power, like an extra 33 kilowatts more power. That's a lot, because it brings this engine to 339 kilowatts. 556 newton meters is peak torque, and that comes at 4,600 RPM. There's much more urgency to acceleration, and that's helped largely by the other impressive technological aspect to this new version of the Mustang, the 10-speed automatic transmission. The previous automatic felt a bit slushy, and no real urgency in the bite between engine and back wheels. That's all gone in this car. It feels like it's locking up much earlier on in the revs and delivering some absolute positive shove to you when you put your foot into the accelerator. And that's what you want from your Mustang, don't you? You want to feel that the car is urgent and impatient and energized and just keen as mustard to get you down the road as quickly as you choose. The other big thing for 2018 is that this car now has an active exhaust system. And why is that so important? Because finally your Mustang sounds like the muscle car that it actually is. Now the exhaust is a big deal, I think, for this Mustang, because let's face it, if you've got a muscle car, you want to feel and hear that you've got a muscle car. It's an active exhaust system, so there are 4 different modes. It's quite nice. Even in normal mode, it's really quite a vocal exhaust system. 4 pipes speak volumes for this car. In the old Mustang, I always felt it was kind of a bit muffled and a little bit kind of, I don't know, PC. Well, this is not a PC car. It never has been, and I doubt it ever will be. So why not go to the nth degree and tell all of the people around you that you're driving a Mustang? And not an EcoBoost 4-cylinder one, by the way. If you've got a car that looks like this, it should sound like this. It may seem a bit strange to wax so lyrical about the exhaust system and the noise that this car now makes, but I think we've got to bear in mind who buys a Mustang and why they buy the Mustang. They're not really buying it for transport. They're not really buying it for practicality, because this one, like all previous Mustangs before it, pretty useless in terms of carrying multiple passengers. Yeah, you can get somebody in the front seat with you, but to ask somebody to hop into the back, well, you're asking a lot, because there's bugger all room in the back. So you're not buying it for practicality, you're not buying it for economy, you're not really buying it for cornering prowess. You're buying it because the noise it makes, the image it comes with, the look of the thing, and how you feel when you drive it. And in all of those regards, this new 2018 Mustang is significantly improved, I think. The base price for a V8 GT Mustang, automatic or manual, is $79,990. Now, this car's got a few extras over and above that. For instance, $3,500 for these Recaro seats. Even though they're not heated and cooled like the standard seats are, the comfort and security the seats give you in cornering, well worth it, I think. So $3.5 grand for the Recaros. This car also has the premium 19-inch wheel option, which is another $2,000. I don't know if I'd spend my money on that too, because the wheels, to my mind, certainly on this silver ingot car, don't look quite big enough in the wheel arches. The other thing this car's got is MagneRide suspension. Now, that's a suspension system where essentially the shock absorbers are filled with a magnetically charged fluid, and those shock absorbers can have the viscosity of their fluids changed by the application of an electric current. The idea is that the shock absorbers are constantly reacting to the road surface and adjusting their compliance or lack of it according to what's going on underneath the tyres. I don't know that I'd be stumping up $3,000 for the MagneRide suspension. I'm not discerning that this car feels any different from a standard sprung Mustang, which is what I did drive on the launch event. Maybe it's a little bit more compliant over bigger bumps. It still feels fairly stiffly sprung, and that certainly suits the character of the car. And I think everything we talk about with the Mustang has to be kept in the context of what is a Mustang buyer looking for when they buy their car. They're looking for good punchy performance, a loud vocal soundtrack that goes with it, and a satisfying but not necessarily a razor sharp handling or ride. And in that respect, I think the 2018 Mustang is delivering very well. But it's a Mustang, and what we mainly care about is the dashboard. It's a 12.3-inch wide LCD dashboard, and you can change the configuration of the instruments that display in there. You can change the color schemes. You can make a proper hash of it, frankly. You've lost the double binnacle, deep recessed instruments of old, but it's certainly a modern, fresh take on that same sort of style, so you do feel like you're looking at quite a special dashboard. The 2018s have a far more angular nose to them. The headlights are kind of more narrowed and sharper edged. There's larger angular vents, and also the bonnet line is lower. And it's certainly a bit more, I don't know, generic and flat. It's not as kind of, I don't know, special perhaps as the previous bonnet was, but it certainly does afford you a better view forward. Forward. Also, in our Mustangs here in New Zealand for the first time, we have bonnet vents as standard. Outside, otherwise, the car is largely as it has been before. The taillights are slightly different than previous years' Mustangs, but you wouldn't really know it from the rear that this is a 2018, except for the fact that there's now 4 exhaust pipes on the back instead of 2. This 10-speeder is so eager to please. It's so quickly responsive to what you're asking for with your right foot. Sometimes it's overly eager, like it's had a bit too much coffee. You know, it's jumping from 6th to 2nd to 4th to 8th to 6th to 9th. That can happen, particularly in sport mode, and you can still confuse it in the more relaxed and kind of tranquil normal mode. But I'd rather have a transmission that's kind of you know, like a small dog waiting to be told what to do and being eager, than one that's really slow and slothful, like the old 6-speed automatic transmission was. So if you've just bought a new Mustang in the last year or so, and it's not a 2018, you've got every right to feel a bit brassed off actually, because although $79,990 is $2,000 up on what your Mustang would have cost you in the same spec, this car has got significantly more than $2,000 worth of extra fun factor about it. More Mustangness, I guess you'd say. The 2018 Mustang versus all previous Mustangs. This one is much more Mustang.